Hello everyone, and welcome to this whirlwind adventure through the Emerald Isle, a land so green it would make Kermit the Frog jealous. We're off to explore Ireland, a country that's like a well-worn, comfy armchair by the fire, full of warmth, charm, and stories for days. From dramatic coastlines that'll take your breath away to pubs filled with music that'll have you tapping your feet, Ireland's got it all. So buckle up, grab a cuppa, or a pint of Guinness, I won't judge, and get ready to discover the magic of Ireland. First up, we're heading west to County Clare, home and spot some of the local residents. Hundreds of thousands. You're perched on a cliff edge, the wind whipping through your hair, and before you stretches the mighty Atlantic Ocean. The cliffs of Moher are 8 kilometers of pure drama, with sheer drops into the churning waves below. It's enough to make anyone feel a bit weak at the knees. I mean, it's spectacular, but maybe stand back a tad from the edge, yeah? And if you're lucky, and not too distracted by the views, you might even spot some of the local residents. Hundreds of thousands of seabirds nesting along the cliffs. It's a symphony of squawks and cries, like a scene straight out of a Hitchcock movie, but much less terrifying and with better scenery. But the cliffs of Moher are more than just a pretty face. Your old pal hasn't steered you wrong. After you've had your early, but the visitor center built into the cliff face is packed full of interactive exhibits. You can learn about the geology, history, and ecology of the area. They've even got a virtual reality experience that lets you soar like a bird above the cliffs. I've tried it, and it's surprisingly realistic. Now I know what you're thinking. Graham, this all sounds terribly educational. Where's the crack? Don't you worry, your old pal hasn't steered you wrong. After you've had your fill of the views, pop into one of the nearby pubs for a bit of traditional Irish music and a pint of the black stuff. You'll be doing a jig in no time. Next, we're off to Northern Ireland, a land of myths. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to be on our destination, the Giant's Causeway, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that's just as impressive as its name suggests. Picture this. 40,000 interlocking basalt columns like stepping stones leading out into the sea. It looks like something out of a fairy tale, built by giants, of course, and that's exactly what the legend says. The story goes that the Irish giant Finn McCool built the causeway to fight a Scottish giant named Benandonner. Now, I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of Finn McCool. They say the giants hurled rocks at each other, which is a rather aggressive way to settle an argument, wouldn't you say? Anyway, those rocks are what formed the Giant's Causeway. Now, I know some of you out there are probably thinking, Graham, that feel the spray of the sea on your face and let your imagination, well, you party poopers, the scientists would have you believe it was volcanic activity millions of years ago. Apparently, cooling lava and all that jazz. But where's the fun in that? I much prefer the image of 2 brawny giants having a bit of a tiff. But regardless of how they were formed, there's no denying the magic of the Giant's Causeway. It's a truly unique and awe-inspiring place. You can wander among the columns, feel the spray of the sea on your face, and let your imagination run wild. And who knows, you might even feel the presence of Finn McCool himself. Just watch out for any stray rocks. Wouldn't want to get caught in the crossfire of a giant brawl. Ah, the Ring of Kerry. Picture this. But don't worry, the locals are as friendly as can be. Twists and turns more than a soap opera plotline. It's enough to make you carsick, but trust me, the views are worth it. We're talking rolling hills that look like they were painted by a giant emerald green as far as the eye can see. And the coastline? Well, let's just say the Atlantic Ocean certainly knows how to make an entrance. Along the way, you'll stumble upon charming villages with names you'll never be able to pronounce after a pint of Guinness. But don't worry, the locals are as friendly as can be, and their brogues are thicker than a bowl of Irish stew. So buckle up, roll down the windows, and breathe in that fresh Irish air. Just try not to get hypnotized by the sheep dotting the hillsides. Now, the Ring of Kerry isn't just about pretty views. You'll also find remnants of early Christian monasteries. Those crumbling stone walls covered in ivy, those are the remnants of ancient ring forts, where Celtic tribes once lived and fought off Vikings. And speaking of Vikings, they couldn't resist the charms of the Emerald Isle either. They left their mark on places like the Skellig Ring, a rugged and wild offshoot of the main route. Imagine those longboats navigating those choppy waters. But it's not all battles and bloodshed, thank goodness. You'll also find remnants of early Christian monasteries, like the one on Valentia Island. Imagine monks scribbling away in their stone cells, creating illuminated manuscripts while the wind howled outside. So as you drive along, let your imagination run wild. Think of the people who walked these paths before you, the stories they could tell, and the history etched into the very landscape. It's enough to give you goosebumps, isn't it? Next stop, Killarney National Park. Now if shy, but spotting one is like winning the Irish lottery, relaxing spa day. It's 26,000 acres of pure Irish bliss with something for everyone. We're talking shimmering lakes reflecting the sky like 1,000 shattered mirrors, mountains that pierce the clouds, and forests so green they make Kermit the Frog look positively beige. You can wander through ancient oak and yew woodlands, where the trees have witnessed centuries of history. Keep an eye out for the red deer. They're a bit shy, but spotting one is like winning the Irish lottery, only without the massive cash prize. And if you're lucky, you might even catch a glimpse of the elusive Irish otter playing in the crystal clear waters. They're like the supermodels of the otter world, sleek, elegant, and always camera shy. Nestled on the shores of Muckross Lake, you'll find mucking room or admiring the views from the balcony. Drag Queen's wardrobe. This place has it all: turrets, towers, sprawling gardens, and enough history to make your head spin faster than a Celtic reel. Queen Victoria herself popped in for a cuppa back in 1861. Can you imagine the staff panicking? The Queen's coming. Quick, polish the silverware and hide the good biscuits. Today, you can wander through the house and pretend you're a wealthy Victorian, sipping tea in the drawing room or admiring the views from the balcony. Just try not to trip over the corgis. They're still waiting for their queen to return. And don't miss the gardens. They're a riot of colors, with everything from rhododendrons the size of small cars to delicate ferns unfurling in the shade. It's enough to turn even the most hardened city dweller into a nature enthusiast. Right, hold on to your hats, folks, because we're heading off the coast in isolation, closer to the heavens, or perhaps sight is not for the faint of heart, or those with a fear of heights for that matter. Imagine a craggy, windswept island rising dramatically from the Atlantic Ocean. Now, picture a 6th century monastery clinging precariously to its slopes, accessible only by climbing over 600 ancient stone steps. It's a place of wild beauty and spiritual significance, where early Christian monks lived in isolation, closer to the heavens, or perhaps just closer to the seagulls. And if those stone walls could talk, imagine the stories they could tell. Of course, these days, Skellig Michael has a new claim to fame. It's also where Luke Skywalker was hiding out in those Star Wars films. Apparently, even Jedi Masters need a break from intergalactic conflict now and then. Now, landing on Skellig Michael is a bit like taking a try not to get dive-bombed by a protective parent. Those in the wind, or feel the ghostly presence of Luke Skywalker sipping his green smoothie. The beehive-shaped stone huts where the monks lived and prayed are remarkably well preserved, considering they've braved the elements for over 1,000 years. Talk about good insulation. And if you're a fan of birdwatching, you're in for a treat. Skellig Michael is home to thousands of seabirds, including puffins, gannets, and razorbills. Just try not to get dive-bombed by a protective parent. Those beaks are sharper than they look. So, if you're looking for an adventure that's equal parts awe-inspiring and slightly terrifying, a trip to Skellig Michael should definitely be on your Irish bucket list. Just remember to pack a good windbreaker and maybe a lightsaber just in case. Dublin, a city that's as charming as a mischievous leprechaun and as lively as a fiddle at a keelid. Wander down cobblestone streets and stumble upon hidden pubs. But before we hit the pub, let's delve into a bit of history. Our first stop is Trinity College, Ireland's oldest and most prestigious university. Founded in 1592 by Queen Elizabeth I. And of course, no visit to Trinity would be complete without a peek at the Book of Kells. Right next door to Trinity College, you'll find Dublin Castle, a grand old pile that's witnessed centuries of history. From Viking raids to royal banquets, This castle has seen it all. Dublin's also a city with literature in its DNA, a place where words are as important as pints of Guinness. Follow in the footsteps of literary giants like James Joyce, Oscar Wilde, and Bram Stoker. Raise a glass to some of the world's greatest writers. Now, hold on to your hats, folks, because we're off to a place that's amongst the rocks. You'll find an astonishing array of plants and off to the moon, but you could be forgiven for thinking so when you first clap eyes on the Burren. This unique landscape, located in County Clare, is like stepping onto another planet. Imagine vast stretches of limestone pavement crisscrossed by cracks and crevices. It's a bit like what I imagine the moon would look like if it had a good gardening day. But don't let the stark beauty fool you, because the Burren is teeming with life. Hidden amongst the rocks, you'll find an astonishing array of plants and wildflowers. It's enough to make a botanist's head spin. And as if the landscape wasn't enchanting enough, the Burren also boasts a rich history. It's like stepping back in time, imagining the people who lived here centuries ago. Our next stop is Poulnabrona Dolmen, one of Ireland's most iconic prehistoric sites. This megalithic tomb has stood for over 5,000 years. That's older than the pyramids. The sunlight filtering through the capstone casts eerie shadows. You can feel the presence of ancient people here. The Burren's stark beauty and history will stay with you. Right, pack your hiking boots and grab your waterproof jackets, Europe. As you wander through the park, keep your eye where the mountains meet the sky and the wild Atlantic wind will blow the cobwebs away. It's enough to make you want to burst into song, or at least belt out a hearty woo-hoo. This vast expanse of rugged mountains, shimmering lakes, and windswept bogs is a sight to behold. It's the kind of place that makes you feel small and insignificant, in the best possible way. You know, like when you realize you left the immersion heater on and you're halfway across Europe. As you wander through the park, keep your eyes peeled for the local wildlife. We're talking Connemara ponies, red deer, and maybe even a shy otter or two. And if you're really lucky, you might even spot a majestic golden eagle soaring overhead. Though I wouldn't bet on seeing a leprechaun, darling. They're notoriously camera shy. Our next stop is Kylemore Abbey, a fairy tale castle in Connemara. This castle is like something straight out of a Disney movie. It later became home to Benedictine nuns. With soaring turrets, a sparkling lake, and manicured gardens, the interior is equally impressive. Connemara's wild beauty will steal your breath away, and the fairy tale castle will enchant you. Ah, Blarney Castle, where you can kiss a stone for the gift of gab. Legend has it, this stone bestows eloquence upon those who dare. You'll have to lean back precariously. Don't worry, there are sturdy bars. A little smooch can turn even the shyest into a chatty Cathy. Blarney Castle is the place to be for a boost in eloquence. Now, Blarney Castle isn't just about the stone, you know, is filled with ferns from all over the world, or lose your gorgeous. We're talking lush greenery, vibrant flowers, and even a poison garden. Yes, you heard that right, a poison garden. They've got all sorts of deadly plants tucked away in there, from belladonna to wolfsbane. Don't worry, it's all perfectly safe. As long as you don't go around nibbling on the foliage, of course. If poisonous plants aren't your cup of tea, then stroll through the fern garden, a tranquil oasis filled with ferns from all over the world, or lose yourself in the mystical rock close, said to be home to ancient druids and magical creatures. So, whether you're after the gift of gab, a wander through stunning gardens, or a peek at some deadly flora, Blarney Castle has something for everyone. Just try not to talk anyone's ear off after that kiss, all right? Buckle up and get ready for a visual treat. We're embarking on a journey along the wild Atlantic Way. This route stretches for 1,600 miles, hugging Western Ireland's rugged coastline. Imagine dramatic cliffs plunging into the Atlantic Ocean, charming villages and cozy harbors, and breathtaking landscapes. Picture postcard views that make you say, "Ireland, you've done it again." This isn't just a drive, it's an experience. Picture yourself cruising along, the wind whipping through your hair. The wild Atlantic Way is a must-do. Where do we even begin with 1,600 miles of coastline? The Wild Atlantic Way is like a choose-your-own-adventure novel with stunning scenery. Start with the iconic cliffs of Moher, or visit the Dingle Peninsula, home to breathtaking views and Fungi the dolphin. Don't forget the Aran Islands, steeped in traditional Irish culture. The Wild Atlantic Way is a journey that will stay with you long after you've unpacked your bags. Right, let's take a step back in time, shall we? Newgrange is a passage tomb, meaning it's a burial chamber way back. We're talking older than the pyramids, older than Stonehenge. Prepare yourselves for Newgrange. This Neolithic monument, nestled in the heart of the Boyne Valley, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of Ireland's most important archaeological treasures. It's basically the VIP lounge of ancient history. Now, you might be thinking, it's just a big grassy mound, Graham. But darling, it's what's inside that counts. Newgrange is a passage tomb, meaning it's a burial chamber accessed by a long, narrow passageway. And let me tell you, this isn't your average graveyard crypt. The builders of Newgrange were serious about their afterlife accommodations. They carefully aligned the passageway so that on the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, the rising sun illuminates the chamber deep within the mound. Talk about dramatic flair. Imagine this. It's the winter solstice, the dark chosen by lottery. Visiting Newgrange at any time is frosty, and a hush falls over the crowd gathered at Newgrange. As the sun peaks over the horizon, a single ray of light pierces the darkness, illuminating the ancient chamber. It's a moment that connects us to our ancestors, a reminder that light will always return. Witnessing this spectacle firsthand is like winning the lottery. Only a limited number of people are allowed inside Newgrange for the solstice sunrise, chosen by lottery. Visiting Newgrange at any time of year is magical. Explore the passage tomb, marvel at the intricate carvings, and soak up the atmosphere. Now, darlings, if you're after a bit of crack, a national sport here. Pull up a stool, order up to be. It's like a little pot of gold at the end of the Wild Atlantic Way, brimming with music, art, and enough pubs to make your head spin. You'll hear music spilling out of every doorway, fiddles and bodhrans setting your toes tapping, and the atmosphere, oh, it's infectious. Everyone's up for a good time, a good laugh, and maybe a good Guinness or two. And speaking of Guinness, you can't visit Galway without a bit of pub crawling. It's practically a national sport here. Pull up a stool, order a pint of the black stuff, and I guarantee you'll be chatting with a local in no time. They're a friendly bunch, the Galwegians, always happy to share stories and maybe even a song or two. Just don't ask them to say Massachusetts after a few pints, it's a recipe for disaster. Galway isn't just about the good times though, it's little streets and alleyways. You can wander for hours, leprechaun's trousers. You've got the Spanish Arch, a relic from the city's trading days, when ships laden with treasures sailed in from all corners of the globe. Then there's Galway Cathedral, a grand dame of a building that wouldn't look out of place in Rome itself. And don't even get me started on Lynch's Castle, a medieval marvel with a gruesome tale or two up its sleeve. But for me, the real magic of Galway lies in its little streets and alleyways. You can wander for hours, discovering hidden courtyards, quirky shops, and cafes serving up the most delicious scones this side of the River Corrib. It's a city that gets under your skin, wraps you up in its warm embrace, and sends you home with a song in your heart and a twinkle in your eye. Trust me, you'll be smitten. For an authentic taste of Ireland, hop on a ferry to the Aran Islands. These 3 rugged islands are like stepping back in time. The pace is slower, the air fresher, and Gaelic is spoken naturally. It's a world of ancient traditions and breathtaking landscapes. Imagine cycling along winding roads with the sea breeze, passing by sheep grazing on hillsides and stone walls that have stood for generations. The Aran Islands aren't just about quaint villages and friendly faces. They're home to impressive prehistoric sites like Dun Angasa, a fort perched on a cliff edge. Imagine standing on those cliffs, gazing out at the vast Atlantic Ocean. When the sun sets, casting a golden glow, you'll understand why they call this place magical. Ah, Glendalough. Now this place is special. Imagine a valley carved by glaciers, as dramatic as a Daniel Day-Lewis stair. In the heart of it all, you'll find the ruins of a monastic city dating back to the 6th century. This was the stomping ground of Saint Kevin, a man so holy he slept in a hollowed-out tree. The iconic round tower still stands proud after all these centuries, and the remains of churches, stone huts, and even a cathedral. The detail in the stonework is just exquisite. You can really feel the history here. But Glendalough isn't just about the past, darling. It's the perfect place to escape and clear your head. Ancient forests, past shimmering lakes, and up to breathtaking viewpoints. You can practically smell the fresh Irish air, spot local wildlife like red deer or peregrine falcons. A stroll around the upper lake is magical. The water is so still and reflective, like a fairy tale. There's a lovely cafe near the visitor center. Grab a cuppa and a scone and soak in the atmosphere. Even I can appreciate the beauty of Glendalough. It's the perfect place to escape and clear your head. From the tranquility of Glendalough, we're off to Belfast, a city with a spirit as strong as a pint of Guinness. Explore Belfast's heart through its maritime history and the story of the RMS Titanic. This isn't your dusty old museum, darling. It's an immersive experience. Spread over 9 floors, it takes you from the shipyards to the Atlantic. Hear the stories of the workers who built the Titanic and the passengers with dreams bigger than the ship itself. Titanic Belfast isn't just about the glamour of the ship. It delves into the aftermath, survivor stories, and the impact on Belfast. A moving section honors the victims with personal belongings and letters. The underwater gallery features wreck footage and the science behind the sinking. Titanic Belfast is more than a museum. It's a testament to the indomitable spirit of Belfast. Well, me dears, it seems our grand tour of the Emerald Isle has come to an end. From the wind-swept cliffs of Moher to the ancient stones of Newgrange, we've explored the very heart and soul of Ireland. We've laughed with the locals, shed a tear or two over tragic tales, and maybe even developed a taste for Guinness. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the wonders of Ireland. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share for more travel adventures.